Hello. Welcome to the Pitchy Podcast. We're your hosts, James
and Stephanie.
Here on the Pitchy Podcast, we are passionate about good music and a great vocal. We use the vehicle of NBC's The Voice to give you our feedback and take on each contestant and each performance. Here on the Pitchy Podcast, we always will keep it 100 with each contestant and each critique and feedback. But what we're never here to do is come for anyone's character, any contestant as a human being. Although we might, and maybe not this time, because we're on the best ofs, but we might always come off a little pitchy at times, if you know what I mean. We'll do our best to speak our truths with love, kindness, and respect. Welcome to post season 24.
Yes.
The superlatives of season 24. The best of.
Yes.
The Pitchy Podcast. NBC's The Voice, season 24. Hey, Stephanie, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Woo, we made it through these holidays. Oh,
yes.
Life in these streets, y'all. Life in these streets.
Listen, I still have my tree.
I do too. I mean, I'm upstairs, but we still have our tree.
Yeah.
Look, shout out to my beautiful wife, Allison, whose birthday is on the Epiphany, January 6th.
Yes.
Not what we know January 6th for as that other day. But no, it is the Epiphany, Three Kings Day. We don't take the tree down until after her birthday.
Okay.
So that's why the tree is still up. Okay.
Well, shout out to my son, whose birthday is on the 7th. And that has nothing to do with our tree other than probably the fact that I'm not going to be undecorating and redecorating. So we will decorate for his birthday and then we'll probably take it all down in one big QT.
I know that's right. Those early January birthdays are tough ones, but you know what? We love our early January birthdays.
That's right.
So Stephanie, I was so excited about today, but also dreading today because I know I sound like a broken record, and we've, as a Pitchy Podcast, have sounded like a broken record throughout this entire season, that this was one of the most amazing seasons. There was some, no pun intended, there was an X factor about this season that we couldn't put our finger on. But I think with us going back and doing a little, review of the season, a little look back of the season, I think we figured out what that X factor was. It just was the talent.
That's right.
It was the pure, sheer talent of it all.
Yes.
In regards to this season. So we, as a Pitchy Podcast, every season, this is our third season, we always go back and take a look back at the season in each round, respectively. Yeah. And Stephanie and I always pick our best ofs.
Yes.
And I'm saying all this to say this. When we started with this season's best ofs, Stephanie started, I think, earlier this week. Stephanie called me and she's like, I can't do this. James, this is crazy. She's like, for me, Stephanie basically said, and I'm paraphrasing Stephanie, help me out if I veer off in the wrong direction. But she basically was saying to me, she's like, to go back and to reminisce over all of these auditions really has taken her back to how amazing this past season has been. Mm-hmm. And she even said, she forgot about some of, these ridiculous auditions.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's me. I dreaded it, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to even think about it until I actually sit down and focus on getting my list together. Mm-hmm. And like Stephanie, I lost my mind all over again for some of these performances. And I called Stephanie this morning. I was like, I just don't know how I'm going to do this. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a common theme of attack. That's my common theme of, which ones, because I can't believe there are some that I'm leaving off this list, but we got to do what we got to do. So without further ado, Stephanie, let's just jump right in.
Okay.
Stephanie and I had so many that we had an honorable mention list that was stacked. So we're going to start with our honorable mention. Now, Stephanie's doing hers a little different, and I'll let her explain that. But my honorable mention is in no particular order.
Mm-hmm.
So I can start with my first two in no particular order, and then
Okay.
Stephanie, if you don't mind explaining to the Pitchies how you did yours, okay?
Sure. Yep.
All right. Drum roll, please. In no particular order, I have 6 honorable mentions.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And here we go. My honorable mention, Stephanie's gonna die when she hears this. My first honorable mention is Miss Jacquie Roar. Here for the party, Gretchen Wilson. And I know I had to come off strong, and I had to come off like a little bit like, oh my gosh, Stephanie's mouth is going to drop, because Jacquie obviously has been one of our favorites through the entire season. Jacquie made the deepest of runs this season.
Yes.
And this was our first introduction to Jacquie, where we literally saw the brilliance of her artistry.
Right.
From start to finish. Jacquie was our storyteller. Jacquie was our vocal tsunami.
Mm-hmm.
She was kind of the first vocal tsunami that we saw,
mm-hmm.
With many vocal tsunami singers of this season.
Right.
And Jacquie was probably, in my opinion, my humble opinion, Jacquie, pound for pound, was probably the most consistent singer of the season, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Jacquie had the same formula. It always worked, and it always was effective for me.
Mm-hmm.
So Jacquie Roar is my first honorable mention, which is insane. All right, my second honorable mention is Miss AZÁN.
Oh,
Miss AZÁN, when she sang Golden,
yes,
up-tempo, which is, to me, a brilliant, although risky choice to sing for Blind Auditions.
Yes.
And AZÁN was one of those, her audition, AZÁN was our light of the season.
Yes.
She was our light. She brought it. You couldn't take your eyes off of her. Probably the most natural performer of the season. Mm-hmm. You just had a smile on your face. And not only was she an incredible Beyonce, Sasha Fierce level of a performer, she had, not saying that Beyonce doesn't, but she had one of the most amazing voices of the season.
Yes.
So it's like the performance and the voice went hand in hand. So she was undeniable.
Absolutely.
So she sang our Jill Scott's Golden, up-tempo. I think Reba and John turned for AZÁN. And it was one of my favorites. But
absolutely,
those two are my first honorable mentions. Stephanie, take it away.
Okay, so as James explained, I did my honorable mentions just a little bit different so that I was able to add more. I think that's why I did my honorable mentions.
I hear you, Steph. I really do. Because really it had to. You had to.
Absolutely.
You had to.
Like, there are just...
It's possible.
We've said this before in prior best ofs. Like, there are just some people that need to come out of my mouth. And there are so many that will not in this episode that I'm really hopeful will be able to come out of my mouth in later best ofs. But
good point.
So I'll do my first 2 and I'll give my reasons why.
Okay.
And then my other 2, the other 4 that I have are divided into 2 sectors.
Okay.
So I have 2 kind of individuals for different reasons, and then 2 sectors with 2 artists each. So I will do my 2 individuals first. The first is Lavender with Hotline Bling. Lavender gave me everything that I wanted in an audition that I like to see personally, which we don't always see. Number 1 is a unique voice.
Yes.
Second is a total flip of a song. If you can give me a song in a completely different way, it is the best thing in the world to me. And it's super difficult to do and is super risky, especially for a blind audition. I think that there were people that did not turn for Lavender because they didn't know the context of Hotline Bling. They just heard her and didn't get the full of what her performance was.
Mm-hmm.
I was in
Yes, you were.
1000% the minute she opened her mouth, based on the way her voice sounded and
Yeah.
based on the musical arrangement that was so unique of this song. So I had to put Lavender on my honorable mentions list for the uniqueness of her audition.
Great choice.
Thank you.
Great choice.
The second was, and if I was to put this artist under a context or under some kind of heading, it would be how the heck did you not make it past the battles? And that is JaRae Womack doing Back to Black by Amy Winehouse.
It kills me that JaRae did not make it onto my list. It kills me. It kills me.
I had to say her name.
Good for you,
I had to say her
Stephanie.
name because we won't be able to say her names in battles because they didn't play her whole battle with Lila, and JaRae did not move forward. But her Back to Black was so brilliant. It was just so brilliant. All of our choices and picks are going to be in the show notes, the links to the performances. Please check out JaRae's Back to Black. It is epic. It is an epic audition. And one of my biggest sadnesses of this season is that she was not able to move forward. And that was really all we saw of her. So JaRae Womack. My second honorable mention.
Stephanie. You came out strong, girl. Strong.
Had to.
With your first two choices. I love them. I love the reasons why you picked them. It killed me. Like, JaRae was one of the ones where I just was like, how could I not?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. My next two honorable mentions, again, in no particular order. Taylor Deneen. Taylor's Childish Gambino's Stay Woke or Redbone as Black people call it Stay Woke. Like
Stay
that's
woke.
what we call it. Because we'll rename a song in a minute. But, but Redbone, it was so sexy. That's the only word I can think of to describe it. It was like it wasn't whiny, but it was like
yearning.
Yearning. It was
adult.
It was very adult.
Yes.
It was very just seductive. That's the best word. There we go. It's a better word than sexy. A more PC word. Because not everybody knows what that word is. Like if you're young and you're listening to this. But it was very seductive.
Right.
Not in an overly sexualized way, but in a jazzy, smoky room kind of way. I loved Taylor Deneen's offering. I said, here's someone who's going to go far in this competition.
Yeah.
It was kind of my key word this season was nuances. Those were one of my words this season, and it was so nuanced. She's such a nuanced singer that I just love. Next on my list is Mr. Oh gosh, I don't know why he tears me up, and I know you know.
I know who you're gonna say.
Like Dylan Carter's "I Look to You," Whitney Houston's "I Look to You," was just so sincere. It was so heartfelt. And maybe it's because I lost my mom within the past couple of years that it took me there. But it was just so like the opening, as I lay me down, heaven hear me now. Like I just get chills. And that shout out to the songwriter. I'm not going to acknowledge who the songwriter is. If you know, you know.
Oh, if you know, you know.
Is of this song. But it's just when this song is done correctly, and you would never think, because what would you say he was? Was he country? So who do he remind you of?
He reminded me of like a Michael Bolton, like a Bryan Adams, like that ballad, that 80s, 90s rock ballad. I can see that. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, he that touched my heart so deeply. Mm,
I loved it. I loved it. I love the song. Love the song choice.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Dylan and Taylor Deneen. Those are my next two. What about you?
Okay. So, kind of piggybacking off of what you just said, my next two are in the sector of my emotional shout outs. The
Ah,
first of which is Dylan Carter. Um, before we even heard the story about his mother, just watching his performance, it was impactful.
yeah.
It was impactful. And it was 20 times that once you heard the story. But for him to have that effect, like right away as he's singing, to be able to connect and release that song the way that he did and give it the emotion and the energy that he
It
did.
was Whitney, for heaven's sake. It was Whitney
Absolutely.
Houston.
Absolutely. It was astounding. It was astounding. So, what
Yeah.
a moment. Had to put Dylan on my honorable mentions. The second was Lennon VanderDoes for The Night We Met by Lord Huron. And the same reason, like the emotion that he was able to emote, the freedom of just his vocal. It just felt like a very free, very true, very authentic vocal with like just complete abandon. And that's before we knew about his story and some of the insecurities that he had around his voice. Like, it was just really cool to see somebody with a very unique voice the way that he does just be able to
Sure.
present himself in
Sure.
that way. And it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Gorgeous choices. I love how you grouped. I love it. I love
Thank
it,
you.
Stephanie.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay, so my last two
Oh boy.
are one of them you've mentioned before.
Okay.
That's why I didn't make too many comments because I had my own comments.
Okay.
And then this is the one that you're not going to believe that this was on my honorable mention. But I don't think you believe that Jacquie was on my honorable list.
Right.
I saw your reaction to that. Okay, so my last two, Lavender is my next choice because I think of it like this, and I just got downloaded this. It was as if it was an AI version of Hotline Bling. And let me explain to you what that means. They're starting to come out with all these crazy versions of songs done by other artists in the style of like cartoon characters. Like I've sent some to Stephanie. Like we've really lost our mind because they're so brilliantly done and so scarily done. I know scarily not a word, but I made it up. It's done so well that you're like, oh my gosh, is that SpongeBob SquarePants really singing Jasmine Sullivan? Is that Cartman really singing Keisha Cole? Like stuff like that. If you've not seen those videos, check them out on YouTube. It's crazy.
Yes.
So it was as if you took Billie Eilish, to me, or in the style of Billie Eilish, because she doesn't have a voice exactly like Billie's.
But the styling,
right? And then you take the style of Billie Eilish and you take it with a hip hop song of Dre, Hotline Bling. What? That doesn't make sense. But it makes total brilliant bloody sense. Because it was that just spectacular. Lavender, like Stephanie, like I would say, you know, what did the song make me, or did the performance make me feel something? Did it grab my attention? And what am I going back to?
Right.
What do I keep going back and playing over and over again?
Right.
And Lavender's performance of Hotline Bling and a future performance were two I really kept going back to, like a lot. Like unhealthfully a lot. Again, I just made another word up.
Yes.
Okay, so that is my fifth choice. And then my final choice, I'm gonna wrap it up, and this is a big one, and I can't believe it, but it's Wildish, with Songbird Fleetwood Mac. That's when you were like, okay, she's gonna go far. You know, and ironically, the two of them did the battle rounds together, and I didn't even mean to link it like that. Because if you remember, Alexa and Lavender did the next round together. They battled it out. And I just was like, she's spectacular.
Yes.
No one in this voice competition sounds like her.
That's
And
right.
this is when I started thinking, I was like, well, what does she sound like? She sounds like nature. She's one of those nature sounding. Now, there's also another singer that really sounded like nature too.
Yeah.
But there were two singers this season that, for different reasons, just sounded like the elements.
That's
Like
right.
they just sounded like the breeze and the river and the, you know, and the trees rustling. Like
Yes.
Alexa
Yes.
was one of those people that I just was like, oh, like seriously, sis, I could listen to you sing all day, and you just would keep me in that Sunday afternoon, rainy kind of mood. Rainy in a good way. Like I'm just sitting there enjoying a nice cup of tea.
Yes.
Looking outside at the snow. Or
Yes.
the rain. Like that's just Alexa's voice for me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'll be talking about Alexa coming down the pike as well, but we'll get there. So those are my 6. So just to round it all off for me, it was Jacquie Roar, AZÁN, Taylor Deneen, Dylan Carter, Lavender, and Alexa Wildish were my 6 honorable mentions, which is an insane list. And I'm gonna be honest with you all, any of the 6 of them could have been on my top 5.
That's right. That's right.
Any of them.
Excellent.
Stephanie.
I loved that you mentioned AZÁN. I love that you mentioned Taylor. And I love that you mentioned Alexa, because I did not.
As much. And the reason why I reacted like that is because I know, especially, I'm not going to say which one. Stephanie can reveal this if she wants. I know who Stephanie especially had a heart for. Who
do you think that I did?
Like who you had a heart for? Like a real, like AZÁN.
AZÁN, 1000%.
Like there was something about AZÁN that you just, it was like a magnetic draw to her, right?
1000%. 1000%. The minute she did that golden, I was like, chow. If you can sing golden, just on its face, phenomenal, because it's so hard to sing that song. But you bouncing around and performing too, she is the real deal. And this is why I had such a hard time making my list, because there are people that I had to leave off for the time being, at least.
Of course.
I was just devastated to have to leave off. So thank you for mentioning
that. Everyone that you mentioned in the 3 that you just mentioned made a pretty good run on the show, right? So we have a future opportunity to actually talk about all 3 of these wonderful ladies.
That's right.
All right, so I just can't wait to hear who you're rounding off your honorable mentions with.
Okay, so the last sector of my honorable mentions I call my holleration shout-outs.
Yes.
The first one is Nini Iris singing I See Red by Everybody Loves an Outlaw. Y'all, this one was so good that they put it as basically the commercial music before the episode came out, okay? All we heard was I see red. And like, we didn't know. I didn't know that was an actual contestant. But then she did it on the episode, and I was like, yo, she was so good that they used this for the commercial. Straight holleration. Straight holleration, straight performance, straight everything. Nini gave us everything in I See Red. It was spectacular. I still go back and do it myself to the part at the end of the chorus where she like kicks her arm out a little bit. I'm like, yeah. Straight holleration. So Nini Iris.
Tsunami.
My last. Elizabeth Evans. All I Wanted, Paramore.
No!
Now, listen.
That was one of the ones.
Listen. I already have a soft spot for some Paramore. I love me some Paramore. Okay? So this little bitty Miss Elizabeth come out.
Shizzle out of that. Shizzle. Y'all know what I'm really saying.
Listen, the roar that came out of her voice, even before it hit the chorus. And when she got to All I Wanted Was You, I said, I will give you all my money.
You were like, yo.
I was undone because
Yo.
she has that Haley Williams .2 voice that I adore. The holleration of her voice, but like we always said about Elizabeth, the control of it all as well.
Oh, it was so good.
Ooh!
Scary control.
Scary control. So
Scary.
I
Like
had to
control
include her as well.
rage, right? It was
Yes.
nuts.
Yes. Loved it.
Nuts. Oh, great list, Stephanie. So can you recap your list for me, please?
Yes, my individual.
Not me, for us.
Yes, my individuals were Lavender and JaRae Womack. And then under my emotional shout outs were Dylan Carter and Lennon VanderDoes. And under my holleration shout outs were Nini Iris and Elizabeth Evans.
I love it. Powerful.
Yes.
Which, again, you all see, Stephanie and I did not discuss these lists. We make sure, like, we don't even give each other clues as into who we're picking.
It's more fun that way.
We do it individually, and this is the first time we're coming together and hearing each other's lists.
That's right.
So let's get down to business, Stephanie. It's time. I'm going to have you start since I started the last one.
I will be happy to start with my number 5.
Come on, girl. Bring it on.
My number 5 pick is Jacquie Roar.
Yes.
Here for the party, Gretchen Wilson. Now, I will say that I didn't necessarily go into my top 5 with a theme, but I think what became evident for me was that my top 5 was made out of the people that made the most impact to me. And also who made the most impact with the coaches as well.
Yes.
So what I began doing as I made my top 5 at least is I timed when all 4 chairs turned, because all of my 5 are 4-chair turns.
Wow.
So
I'm with you.
Which was not a unique thing for this season.
I think mine were too. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my list. They sure were.
Carson told us that this season was the most 4-chair turns that they had ever had in a season of The Voice. So for Jacquie, it came a little bit later for her, all 4 of her chairs, but they all turned around at the same time. It was really interesting for Jacquie's audition because right from jump, girlfriend was singing.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that she would have had more chairs turned for her earlier if they could have seen her, because she was working the stage and she was just as happy and joyful. And even the later that it got in her performance and chairs still hadn't turned, she was still joyful. She was still confident. And by the end, or by the midsection, she got to that, I'm here for the party. And, kind of came down low in her her voice came down low. And then she just let out that roar. And it was like, the energy of her roar made all of the judges or coaches turn for her at the exact same time. And that was at the 1:15 mark. It was the most phenomenal audition for that reason that I have ever seen. I've never seen another artist will coaches to turn for her
towards the back half of the song.
Yes, it was
not even
undeniable.
That quarter of the song.
Quarter. She was almost done. Yeah. Okay. And she was like, oh no, they're going to turn for me. It was the most unbelievable audition for that reason I have ever seen in my life. Crazy.
She willed it.
So
she willed
Jacquie Roar.
Like, even if those hands didn't move, the sheer roar of her voice would have been like clack, 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 clack. Well, I didn't push the button. Well, the voice did, okay? It'd be like clack, 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 clack. Well, okay, I trust.
Why am I okay? I guess I'm turning.
Anybody that can push the buttons without me pushing it from their voice, they get a 4-chair turn.
I couldn't believe it. I was in my living room pushing my own button, like,
yeah, here for the party. We were here for it, Jacquie. We were here for it all season. We really were.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
5. It was in your honorable mention list. Lennon VanderDoes. The night we met, Lord Huron.
Yes.
to go back, I actually forgot about this audition. Lennon, I've always been a huge fan of Lennon, like always. But to this point that Stephanie made earlier, where we later found out about Lennon's insecurities, about his voice, and blah, blah, blah. And to go back and listen to this audition, I said, well, I don't know who was listening to Lennon, but anyone that knows anything about music would know how special this man's voice is.
1000%.
Point blank, period. And if he got made fun of, or he got told that he sounded like a woman, or sounded, too soft or too sweet, or whatever the craziness Lennon has been told by industry folks, by non-industry folks, by whatever, by gigging, they're idiots. They're idiots. And I don't know who these people are, so I'm not calling them out directly, but I'm going to call them out indirectly, and I'm going to tell Lennon that if we get to talk to him, okay? They're idiots. Because his voice was so uniquely brilliant.
Yes.
I love. Me and Stephanie both love hearing voices that we've never heard before.
Absolutely.
And no one had a voice like Lennon on this show.
That's right.
His artistic choices. This was one of the most uniquely brilliant auditions I've ever seen on this show.
Yeah.
What he did with this song, the choices that he made, the manipulation of his voice.
Come on.
To create his own sound.
Come
and
on.
it may not even have been a manipulation. I know Lennon is a masterful musician, so I know he puts probably a lot of thought and a lot of time and a lot of training into his craft, and it was a masterclass of an audition.
Absolutely.
I loved it in the most indirect, not your run-in-the-mill audition way.
That's right.
He truly paved his own lane.
Absolutely.
Through this competition. It
Absolutely.
was brilliant, Mr. VanderDoes.
Yes.
That was my
really
number 5.
Was.
Lennon.
Absolutely. Very nice. All right, so I'm going to make you start now with your number 4. Number 4.
Did you say me or you?
You.
Oh, we're switching?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I did first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I went first with my number 5, so you're gonna go first with your number 4.
Okay. My number 4.
Don't be getting tricky on me now.
No, I'm not getting tricky on you, Stephanie. My number 4 is "I Want to Be a Cowboy Sweetheart," Ruby Leigh by Patsy Montana.
All right.
Our teenager of the crew. I had to put Ruby Leigh in the top 5.
Absolutely.
Because Ruby Leigh, she stole everyone's purse and everyone's wallet with this audition. Stole it all. You're never getting it back.
Nope.
Ruby Leigh came in with such gusto and with such fire and with such, I am going to win this competition. Not this audition. I'm going to win this competition with that audition of not your typical run-of-the-mill country voice, not your typical country pop voice. No, I'm going to bring some old school country yodeling to you. I'm going to make it good. I'm going to make it fierce. I'm going to make it win.
Come on.
And Ruby Leigh came with such fire. And I could not believe, I still can't believe she was 16 years old coming in singing the way she did. It floored me. I even to go back and listen, I hadn't listened in a few weeks, maybe a month or two almost since I've heard Ruby's audition. And I'm still as floored as I was when I first heard her do it.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yes.
Stephanie, number 4.
My number 4 is the same. Ruby.
I had a feeling. I had a weird feeling. I said, oh no. Ruby Leigh has got to be on Stephanie's list.
Listen, she had to be on my list.
Yeah.
The attack of it all.
Yes.
The confidence of it all.
Oh,
for
crazy.
Being 16, no fear. There was no fear at all. In my mind, I was like, okay, if there is not already a degree in which you can study in order to get a a yodeling degree. She already has her yodeling PhD.
PhD,
Like,
baby.
it was the most, I think I said in the original episode that it made me think of yodeling as an artistry.
Yes.
Like, and it's so interesting because she made it look so easy that it made me understand how difficult it truly is, because she made it look so easy, if that makes sense. So, like I said, I was looking for how quickly each of the judges turned for her, or how quickly she was able to get 4 chairs to turn. It only took her 45 seconds to get all 4 chairs to turn for her. It was such an incredible audition. She was undeniable. She was undeniable. You had to turn for her. She was going through no matter what.
You did. And not only going through, Stephanie, but going to make a deep run. As she did.
Come on, runner up.
You knew it was going to happen.
You knew it. Absolutely.
I said, 16 years old singing like this? Coming here auditioning people old enough to be her parent? Insanity.
And the coaches.
I loved her dad. I loved her. I loved her family. I loved her story. I loved it all.
And the coaches loved her. Like, it was such a fun up tempo, and it was something different for the coaches. They were really into it.
And now that I think about it, very smart, because I think Ruby Leigh knew that Reba McEntire was going to be on this season, and Reba's a yodeler.
I was just thinking
that's
that, James.
Her foundation.
Yes, I was just thinking that. I was like, great strategy, Ruby, for picking that song.
It really was. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're going to do it good. And here's the thing also about Ruby Leigh. She had an incredible voice too. Like just straight up, yes. Like down the pike, right? She did songs where she didn't yodel. Like, she didn't yodel that much at all anymore.
That's right.
For the rest of the season.
That's right.
Her voice was just as powerful as her trick or gimmick or whatever you want to call it. That's the thing that really got her noticed, or her uniqueness.
Absolutely.
The girl could sing.
I mean, even through this song, like, the verses were very kind of, but she was singing them full throat, like full voice. Like, she was not holding back. And some of those notes at the ends of those phrases in the verses went very high.
This was our check the birth certificate singer, right? This was our singer where we were like, she can't be. Impossible.
That's right.
Impossible. Okay. You're next. Number 3, Stephanie.
My number 3 pick is Mac Royals, Gravity, John Mayer. Gravity.
Hey.
Ooh, okay.
We still saying, hey.
When I looked back on this one, I was just like stunned all over again as to how brilliant he was in that song. It only took the coaches 30 seconds to turn for him. Less than 30 seconds to turn for him. And I might have been the person that would have hit my button just upon hearing him say gravity, bop. Now, they waited a little bit longer than that, but I would have been gravity, bop, because
that's a pretty voice.
That's a pretty voice.
That's a pretty
and you can tell I can't tell you what it is, James, but there are just some voices where all you have to hear is a word to know that all of the rest of it is going to be brilliant. And Mac Royals has one of those voices, and that was proven true throughout the whole competition. My number 3, Mac Royals.
And I can only foreshadow a bit, but I have a feeling that Mac Royals is going to be on many of our lists going down the pike. Because we haven't begun to talk about this young man. We haven't begun to talk about him.
Yes.
But we'll get there. That's for later episode.
Yes.
My awesome number 3 choice, but I can't believe I'm gonna be keeping 100 with you, Stephanie. I have no idea who you have beating out Mac, because I didn't think that I thought he'd be higher on your list. But my number 3 was one of your honorable mentions.
Wait a minute. I just want to tell the listeners and viewers, you have to listen to James very carefully when he's speaking, because whether he knows it or not, he gives clues about his list. Obviously. So I don't know if y'all heard a clue about James's list, but
not the final
I did.
Clue. Not the final clue.
This is why we love these episodes so much, because we love the surprise of each other. So
absolutely.
Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
My number 3 My number 3 was one of your honorable mentions, believe it or not. Do you want to guess?
Your number 3 is one of my...
You want to
Okay.
guess? If you're thinking of my theme, right? My theme of, grabbing somebody.
Okay, then...
Because remember, Jacquie was on my honorable mentions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So give me someone who also gave an audition who, grabbed you and pulled you in, who I have not mentioned yet. But you've mentioned.
Nini grabbed me.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Nini.
Yes, ma'am.
Nini.
Yes, Miss Nini Iris. I see red. Outlaw. Y'all.
Woo!
So Stephanie, Nini, I was like, she's a pro. Like she's arrived. Like she's already here. It's
right.
like I felt her audition was so next level that she was one of those people coming back and doing a guest spot.
That's
like
right.
An established artist coming back and doing a guest spot.
Right.
It was so ridiculous. I see you're right. Like the growl in her voice, the runs, the everything about it from start to finish was a perfection audition. Not only was it a perfection audition, it was a perfection performance. And I just was like, she's got to be in my top 3. I thought she was going to win it all.
Right.
Like, I really did, because I was like, no one is coming, because it was effortless.
Mm-hmm.
She, in addition to a couple of other singers this season, it just sounded and looked effortless.
Yeah.
But they were just giving you crazy tsunami, knock you down singing. So Nini Iris was my number 3, Stephanie.
Listen, one of the things I loved most about Nini's performance, other than her vocal, was her presence on the stage. Like when she sang that first, I see red, red, red. Like after the last red, she kind of did this hop thing. Like I will never forget that about that performance, because she was just in the moment. She was just, like you say, the joy of singing, the joy of performing. And I just remember that there was just complete freedom and abandon on that stage. And that made as much impact as her vocal did. Beautiful number 3 choice. Beautiful.
All right. Who's your number 3? Or no, you already told me your number 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
See, you keep trying to make me talk when it's not my turn. It's you. You. Number 2.
Okay. No. My number 2 was your number 3. Mr. Mac Royals. Yes. Gravity.
Woo!
Go back and watch it. I've already talked about Gravity at length. It's the one. This is the one. I think there was one other, and this is probably why he was not my number 1, because there was one other performance of the Blinds that I think I played more, like I played back more of than Mac Royal's Gravity. But even though I played my number 1 back more, I played Gravity further on down.
Okay.
Because Mac made a very deep run into the show. I'm giving you clues. Yeah. One thing to go back and watch this, there's something that just warmed my heart about this performance. Did you see Reba's face when she turned around? The smile she had on her face? She's like, yes. That's just liquid velvet.
Yes.
Like she just had this big old grin on her face. Yes. Like, sing, boy. Yes. Boy, you better sing this song. Yes. Like that was
absolutely.
The word. And then of course John was losing his mind. And,
yes.
And they all lost their mind over Mac.
Yes,
and
they did.
Mac was a R&B, as John Legend said, he's an R&B superstar already. Just hadn't gotten a big contract.
That's right.
So you had already said enough about Mac. I mean, and I'm gonna be talking about Mac a lot. But it was just the start of a love affair. The Pitchy podcast and Mr. Mac Royals.
That's right. Just the start.
that boy, he made us fall in love with him from the like Stephanie said, from the gravity. And then we just had this love affair with Matt for the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
So that was my number 2. Stephanie, I cannot wait to hear your number 2. But I have a feeling, what it might be. But I'm not going to say. I don't want to say because if it's my number 1, I don't want to spoil my number 1. Okay?
Right. I think I know who your number 1 is.
Ooh.
But it's like blowing my mind because then that means that my number 2 would not make your list at all.
Yikes.
And I can't
Okay,
really
whoa. Let me look at my short
look at your
my initial list.
Yes, look at your master list.
And I think who you're about to say isn't even on my master list. Wow.
Okay, then I'm stunned.
Yes, I think I know who your number 2 is. Go on, Stephanie.
My number 2 is Kaylee Shimizu. Golden Slumbers, The Beatles.
Not on my list.
I'm stunned. I am stunned.
Not on my list.
Stunned. Y'all, push pause. Go to the show notes. Tap this performance and enjoy. Yeah. This was one of the greatest blind auditions I have ever seen in my life.
It was amazing.
This young lady was she 16 as well?
Yeah, very young.
She had 4 chair turns at 30 seconds.
Yeah.
The vocal annihilation of it all, the confidence of it all. I have never in my life seen a blind audition where you have coaches literally crawling up their chairs because they cannot handle the one-uppance of the vocal execution that the artist is giving. John Legend, who is probably, I think James and I would agree, our hardest coach, hardest one to impress, stood once, if not multiple times during this performance. Niall Horan did all but crawl behind his red chair this performance. Gwen Stefani was in awe. Reba McEntire was just like, there's no way all of this voice is coming out of this young lady. And the thing that put me all the way over the top, because I was familiar with the song, but not super, right? My husband loved this performance and he knows this song very, very well. And he was very complimentary of Kaylee for this performance. The things she was doing vocally were just insane. They were just absolutely
it was crazy.
Insane. It was crazy. It was crazy. And there's only one reason why she was not my number 1. And I'll tell you that when I get to my number 1.
Sure.
But Kaylee, oh my gosh, that child's voice, incredible. Incredible. One of the greatest voices of the season, in my opinion.
Kaylee's going to be definitely on a future list of mine. She will
listen.
Definitely be on a future list.
Listen, if this is any indication. You see what I just did? That's
why, like, there's one other person that actually, believe it or not, did not make my list. And I'll say it before we announce our number 1s. But that's why Kaylee did not make my list. Another person that did not make my list that actually gave a spectacular blind audition was Mara.
Yeah.
And then what she did with John in the blinds was just awesome.
Yes.
But they're going to be 2 I definitely talk about a little bit further down the pike. So here we are. I don't mind telling you who my number 1 is.
Oh, I surely don't mind telling you who my...
Because I have a feeling they may be the same, which is crazy. I never thought a million years you would pick this as your number one. But then I was like, well, why? Of course, why wouldn't she? But then again, I could be completely wrong and our number ones could be off.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
To see if we do have the same number one.
Yes.
And my question is, I believe, see, I should have been a detective in another life.
Because I gave a clue.
You did give a clue. And I believe that clue was that this artist did not make it too far in the competition.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that the clue?
Yes, that was the clue.
Okay, then I believe we have the same number one.
Yes,
James, you are free to share.
My number one was Caleb Sasser, Another Sad Love Song, Toni Braxton.
Bingo! Number one.
I'm getting chills because I promise you all, Stephanie and I did not plan this one bit.
No.
One bit. I'm going to let you talk first, Stephanie.
Oh, okay. So this is the reason why for me. Caleb's vocal on its face was just as impactful and was just as instantly incredible as a Mac Royals. Okay? Like from jump. His vocal was just as clean. Since you've been gone, bop, right? Like it's another one of those voices. Like I don't need to hear.
You don't even need to hear an entire phrase.
Nope. Since that's how good his voice was.
Well, number one, Stephanie, and I'm sorry to interject. We didn't know what song it was first, right? Because of the arrangement.
No, right.
We didn't know. The second he opened his mouth, we knew. Stephanie, I knew what song it was. And we were like,
literally.
Because we're 90s kids, okay? I mean, point blank period. And he had the audacity to sing one of the greatest singers that came out of the 90s. I'm not just talking about R&B. I'm talking about singers, period. One of the greatest singers, in my opinion, of history, pop history.
Right.
And the Toni Braxton.
Listen.
I'm sorry, keep going.
So, on its face, the vocal was incredible, right? He got 4 chair turns within 35 seconds because of that very thing. And I don't even know if he had made it to the chorus before he got his, before the chairs turned. I think he got all of his chair turns before he even got to the chorus. Yeah. What he did to this song, and this is what put it over the top for me. This is why it's my number one, because you have this absolutely instantly incredible vocal with this murderous vocal with this incredibly original arrangement of this incredible song that we don't get to hear all the time. And it was just the perfect storm of deliciousness and originality and authenticity and creativity. It was absolutely incredible. The way that he took pieces of the song and placed them in different areas. The way that he scattered when you're ready to finish singing the end of the chorus, which is, and it's all because of the original is you. And he goes into the scat thing. And it was just like, what is that? What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? It was incredible. That's all I can say. James?
Yeah. It was one of the greatest auditions I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. And as someone who is a trained musician, trained vocalist, went to school for it, I've been around uberly talented people. Mm-hmm. It was the nuance of it all. It was the passion of it all. It was the phrasing of it all. Mm-hmm. It was the scatting. Like, how are you going to take an R&B song and turn it into like a jazz piece? Like, and not even like the back half. Like, it was just like one line. He scattered out. And then he did something. What did he do? He changed.
He took the beginning, whoa, whoa, and he put that at the back end of the song so that it was almost unrecognizable. But when you understood and remembered that that was how the song intros, mind blown. Mind blown.
It was just, I remember like John stood up.
He did.
John Legend just doesn't stand, especially in the beginning.
Not.
He does not stand up.
No.
I was just flattened. I was flattened. And like I just was like, who can do this? I don't know any singers that can do what he just did.
Right.
And he was so sweet, so humble, so chill, so like, you know, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, you know. It was otherworldly.
It really was.
Otherworldly. Best audition. I'm talking about like, yo, like I didn't think anybody had a better audition than like Kim Cruz, right?
Right.
I'm just like,
right.
Like, no shade, Kim. You know, we love you.
Yes.
I just, for me personally, I just was like, I never heard like, and this was a monster. You know, all of Toni Braxton's hits from her first album were pretty much monster hits.
Right.
But this was, I guess, dare I say, a lesser of a monster hit?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I know that love song. Yeah, everyone knows that song, but that probably was more of an R&B hit rather than a pop crossover hit.
Right. 1,000%. Yes.
Like this song, I'm sure, was number one on the R&B charts.
Right.
So to hear this rendition, to hear like almost a stripped down version, where we didn't know what it was because there was like a few chords that were played, and then he came and since you've been gone, we were like, nope, it's over. I remember us saying, Stephanie, that the competition was over.
I know.
When he sang, we were like, nope, you can pack it up. You can pack it up.
Right.
You can pack it up. So, yeah. Caleb, we love you.
Yes.
We loved your audition. It floored us.
Still does.
Hope that you were doing, and probably you are doing, some wonderful things. Please don't you ever stop singing and creating art.
Oh, you better not.
Because you are an artist of the highest caliber.
1,000%.
Woo! Stephanie. I knew, but I didn't know that this was going to be your number one. I knew. I was like, well, she hasn't mentioned him yet.
Yeah.
So he's got to.
Yeah, absolutely. And just think about like how much we struggled even trying to get the top five, how much we struggled trying to like narrow down our honorable mentions. Caleb, for you to be our number one audition, blind audition.
Didn't make it past the knockouts?
That might have been the thing, James. I don't think that they showed his battle.
I don't know. Caleb made it. I don't know. Caleb did not go far in the competition, y'all. We're gonna have to check on that. Not as far as he should have. No, but absolutely. For him to be our number one. If you haven't watched it, please go back and watch his performance. It's captivating.
Oh, it's stunning.
You like the world will stop and you'll just focus.
Yes.
Blinders.
Right. 1,000%.
Wow, Stephanie. Woo! Okay, I can breathe now.
You can breathe.
I know I'm a little dramatic, y'all. But what an awesome, awesome time. What an awesome list, Stephanie. Yes. I loved your list. I loved it. I loved yours. I would take all of them. I would take every last one of them. You truly could interchange. Yes. I mean, I got people like Huntley on my 14 who weren't even in my honorable mention.
Come on.
And my top 5. Okay?
Come on.
I mean, Huntley.
Right.
Hello. Season 24 winner. Crazy.
Yeah.
So, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Yeah. We got some amazing things coming down the pike for all of you.
Yeah.
Please stay tuned to our future episodes. We'll keep you entertained. We'll keep it current for you all the way through till the next season starts.
Yes.
So the next round, Stephanie, is our battles. You know that's my favorite round to talk about.
I do, but we might have a very special episode come before that because this episode, my friend, is 99. Which means the next episode is our big 100th episode. So we might have some special content for that 100th episode for you.
Here we are, 100 flipping episodes. Crazy.
It is crazy.
All right, Stephanie, tell the Pitchies what they need to hear.
All right. So don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Pitchy Podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you can be the first to know when we drop a new episode. Also, check us out on YouTube. Be sure to search for the Pitchy Podcast and hit that subscribe button so you know when we drop a new video. And last, do not forget to follow us at the Pitchy Podcast on Instagram for new episode alerts, episode clips, and so much more.
All right, you all. Until we meet you all again, which will be very shortly again, Happy New Year from the Pitchy Podcast, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.